Okay, just double checking to make sure it's live. It's going through. Looks like it is. Great, cool. Uh-oh, hearing weird headphone things. That's not good. Hi there. Hope you're doing well. It's May 16th, 8:49 a.m. here in Toronto, Canada. Um, yeah, I've been having a lot of audio issues recently, I don't know, for a while now with the new MacBooks and Mac OS and Bluetooth and stuff. It's not great. Hopefully I'm sounding okay. And if not, then I apologize for the video with the audio horrible audio quality. Just checking my meters, everything looks good. Great. So today we are going to be doing something interesting, and that is we are going to be trying to enhance the styled component within HSDS to make it a little bit better, to enhance it a little bit, so that when you go to create styled components, you have access to um, other bits of functionality and configurations and all that kind of stuff, versus having to import things manually and all that nonsense. So I'm gonna share my screen. This is, man, my headphones are beeping again. So at the moment, this is kind of what you have to do. Okay, hang on. It keeps beeping. One moment. Just double checking something. Okay. So at the moment, if you create a styled component like this, style div, this is a very standard thing that you would do with emotion. I don't know about the new emotion. I think the newer emotion adopts the styled component thing where you can actually do this out of the box. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at emotion 10 in a while, but this comes from Fancy. So if I check out this styled thing, all it does is get styled from Fancy, which uses a forked version of Emotion on Emotion 9 underneath the hood with some custom enhancements that we've added. Turn audio off. Okay. Um, so I mean, in order for you to have to do stuff like this, base styles, or um, use getColor, which is a function within HSDS that retrieves a specific color from our color palette within your component, you have to like import them from somewhere else, lots of dot slashes and so on. It gets very cumbersome. And this is just within the library. If you wanted to use the styled component generator thing from HSDS within your application, and you wanted to have get color, you need to like import that manually from HSDS somewhere, and it just feels very, very cumbersome. Even for me, the person who's created this stuff. And I think the last month or so, I saw Base, I guess they call it Base Web. I thought it was called Base UI. Base UI, Base Web, either one. This component library from Uber. Very, very interesting stuff. I think they've done a fantastic job. There are some. I've looked through the source code. There are some things in here that I would have done differently. Uh, but one thing I really, really like about their approach is the concept of overrides. And overrides, what they have done is that they can do two things for overrides. One is the overriding of props, and the other one is the overriding of things that are, or variables that are used within their CSS and JS generator, which is Styletron, which is one that they've created. So the overriding of props is something that we have today with Prop Provider. In fact, I think Prop Provider is a little better because you can do it not directly in the scope of the component. You can do it anywhere arbitrarily. And if they're connected, they just kind of inherit it as a props merge and do all that kind of stuff, Redux style. Here, it's a little bit more manual or more manual in my opinion. But the functionality is there, which is great. It's not something that you get a lot with. Actually, I think this might be one of the only ones I've seen that allows you to do something like that from a component level, which is cool. Dang, I missed my cup. The other thing I think is really cool is this $theme. So this $themes object is something that base gives you when you go to construct a style override. And with this, that you have immediate access to all of their predefined namespaced variables, in this case, color. So in our case, we have a wide color palette, blue, green, all that stuff with varying shades from 100 to 900, light to dark, all that stuff. Those hex codes have already been predefined. And ideally, you would use those hex codes when constructing the UI of your component to ensure that it stays consistent. And that's what this get color thing is. So this get color basically is an equivalent of a get from a Lodash, but the values are already there. So in order to get the blue, I'm going to increase the screen size here. In order to get like a blue, you would just do that. 500 is the default shade that we have. So in order for you to get the blue, you can just do that, which is great. You don't need to memorize the hex code. And it stays consistent, and if we ever do make updates to the color, which we have, it just populates throughout the entire system. It's basically CSS variables, or Sass variables, but done in a very JavaScript-y kind of way, which is cool. What else can you do? Yeah, I think that's basically it. The overriding of props and the ability to grab theme or whatever predefined things on the fly. So recently with Fancy, the styled component library thing that powers all this stuff, underneath the hood, I've added a new feature that allows you to define extra arguments that are being constructed when you create your styled component. So in this example, let's pretend somewhere in creating the styled, here, this create styled thing from Fancy, you define a branding under $ something. So out of the box, when you go to create your styled component, assuming you use this one, not the one out of the box from Fancy, the one that you've specifically created and customized, you will have access to branding. And with this system, you can add as many as you want for your specific need, which is cool. And this pattern was very heavily inspired by Redux, Redux Thunk in particular, because Redux Thunk allows you to add extra arguments like so. And once you do that within the Redux actions, you have access to those after the dispatch, get state, and now you have your Thunk extra arguments. So that's where that idea came from, which was originally inspired by Base Web by Uber. So enough talking. Let's build it. And I don't know how it's going to go, because this is just all theory at this point. So we'll see. So I'm going to G and B. G is my alias for Git, and NB is my Git alias for new branch, because I can't ever remember how to create a branch. I think it's like branch M or something like that, which is not intuitive for me at all. New branch, custom styled extra arguments. Cool, that's a great name for a branch. All right, getting rid of that. Starting with the clean slate, excuse me. And the first thing we need is the latest and greatest version of Fancy, which should be 2.5.0. And it is blah, 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 here. So we're a couple of versions behind. Can I go to the GitHub from this? Yes, I can. VS Code, so good. Let me see. What have we updated? We've updated some data CY stuff. Data CY handling, cool, cool. Oh, we made a fix. Motion compiling, fix to pure. Where are we at? Yeah. So we're already at that state where things have been fixed up. Okay, cool. So I remember this stuff happening because I wrote it, and I think it's safe to update. Better be. If not, then Oh, well, Fancy will need more work. So we're going to be installing the dependency. And after that, we're going to be taking a look at this sucker. This styled index. This is the guy that gets used everywhere. Come on. I really dislike these warns. I mean, I get that they're there for reasons, but then it's really difficult to kind of get yourself in a state where you have no warnings, especially for like an older project as you're trying to migrate things over. It's fine. It's fine. Nope. Uh, okay. So what do I need to do now? I need to not yet. I was going to start up the storybook, but then I realized that for reasons, storybook, or rather the Webpack plus TypeScript compiler thing, it doesn't like it when you add new files or remove files. It just like doesn't build it into the system. So if I were to start this up, and if I were to create a brand new file, it doesn't register. So I have to close it and start it up again, which is silly. So I'm going to just create this file here. So I have something, and we're going to do this. Cool, and then export styled. And then I'm going to import styled from myself or my local scope. What? What? Oh, that's why. That makes sense. Okay, so now we're good. npm start. Let's do this. Okay, so that's going to fire up. So we actually don't need styled. We need create styled because we're going to make a styled. Create styled. And it's complaining because there's no types in here. I think Fancy has been converted to TypeScript. No, it hasn't. I don't think it has. I can double check, but I'm pretty sure it hasn't. And the reason is, remember, this is a forked version of Emotion, and Emotion used Flow in Emotion 9. Yeah, it's not using TypeScript. So I need to define my own types, and all this does is styled. I have, oh, no, create styled. I'm just going to any this. No, still not happy. Okay. Args is any. Declared but never read. Okay, cool. So that's better. Do I even need this? Oh yes, I do. I think I kind of need to define args. Okay. Const styled equals create styled. So assuming I do that, I think I had a typo. Create styled. Yep, the typo. Starting off really fantastically. Okay. So in theory, once I make a save, nothing should break because this, out of the box Fancy, should be the equivalent of styled from Fancy. I hope. If not, then I've done this wrong, and then this screencast is just gonna be me trying to fix Fancy. Where are my node modules? There they are. Just gonna confirm now. Styled is not what I expect. I'm gonna double check Fancy now. Fancy. So when I do very fast checks of stuff, like what you're seeing right now, I use Vim. Just because it's easier for me to jump around. From styled, I'm also exporting emotion. Strange. So cool. It looks like the only thing I really need to do is make sure the pure flag is flipped true. And when I save, great, nothing breaks. So we're in business. We have the custom create styled from Fancy in our kind of setup. And let's pick a candidate to do some tests on. What is a very simple component? Well, none of these are very simple, but I just need a very simple one. Flexi. Flexi is a pretty good candidate because all it does is that it renders content. It doesn't really do anything other than styling stuff. Perfect. Perfect candidate. Oh, that's a little. Here we go. Very simple. Block. Flexi, blah, 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 flexi. Block. Great. So I'm going to open this in an iframe. There we go. So one thing I like to do when doing storybook development, especially if I'm just looking at one single thing, is just to open it in an iframe. I'm very glad that Storybook 5 gives you this option because I've always had to kind of do it manually where I would open up the URL and type iframe.html to load this guy. The downside of Storybook 5, though, is that when it does a live reload, often it will load the incorrect story. It would load some, at least in HSDS's case, it would load some utility one or something with colors. It's very annoying. Hopefully they fix it soon. But in the meantime, this iframe thing is it's nice. Okay, so why is it yellow? Let's start off with that. Probably somewhere in the story I made it yellow. Story for Lexi. Okay, go away. Yellow? Block UI. Oh, okay. So in this guy, I made it yellow. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Not important. I'm actually just gonna remove that so that we can play with it to like add our own colors or something. So this block UI, I'm just gonna see if the extra argument thing even works. Block UI comes from here. Styles. Great. Ah. All right. Oh, I just realized something, kinda. Well, it's not really avoidable. I don't think you can avoid it. Like, anytime I need to do this kind of not data, like the string interpolation to pluck out the functions or whatever it is, it always feels really messy within the styled components. Even though that's like a selling feature of it, it doesn't feel as nice as if you were just write it as a string. I don't know how to avoid it though, just because this is just how it works. Yeah, it's fine. No, my mind just went somewhere. I'm not gonna go there. My mind went to what if I just like wrote some parser inside of here, and then that was able to interpolate styles behind the scenes. Not gonna do that. Okay, okay. Where are we? We are here. So let us under const extra arguments. Let's just define some stuff. Let's just go hello is let's bring our old friend yellow back in. Um, extra arguments. Okay. No break? No break. Great. And let us go to here and do string interpolation stuff. So we need to do dollar curly this pluck. See what I mean? It gets very doesn't feel good. But the power is there, handy. Okay, so now we have hello, which is what I think I called it. Just gonna move it here. I don't like working with lots of tabs. There we go. One. Yeah, 2 tabs. Great. Hello is there. So if I do background, this is theory. Ah, I'll tell you why I'm moaning right now, but give me a second. So that works. Great. The reason why I'm kind of going is this seeing this dollar against this dollar is really trippy. Like, I don't know if I like it. What other thing can I substitute it with? Underscore? Underscore doesn't feel good either. Hmm. Well, maybe I don't substitute it with anything, but I can't. So here's the thing. I can't do that because these namespaces have to be quite unique. Because when styled components goes to provide your components with props, they merge the props that are whatever it is that are being passed to it. In this case, of fancy block, I am giving you all the props that this particular component can potentially receive, which includes class name and all that stuff. So if I had, say, just a component, just like if I named something like this color, right, a very generic name from our extra arguments thing, the likelihood of color clashing with a property from a component is very high, and we can't have that. This has to be unique, and I need to come up with a way to make it unique without feeling bad. Because right now the $sign works for sure, but it feels bad. And this is a really good tip. When you go to, I mean, coding anything, designing anything, but especially if you're working on libraries or core parts of systems, like lower level stuff, it has to feel good. Otherwise, it's just going to be very painful when the next designer or developer, whoever, goes to use it, and then it scales. It scales suboptimally. You want the experience to feel good. And this is what we're right now. Like I've sat at my computer looking at variable names and stuff for collectively for like hours. Not an hour in one single session, but yeah, I will look at this for like minutes and just keep trying different names and stuff. Like I've done things where it's like const should do this, or maybe do this. Like I've written variable names and stuff like that, and just tried to pick the best one that feels the most intuitive. Because when you write code, especially if you're working on a team, you're not writing code for yourself. You're writing code, of course, to get the thing to work, but you're writing code for others and also your future self. So you want to make sure that stuff is good, especially if it's not documented, which application code typically isn't. There's this philosophy of self-documenting code, which is fine. And yeah, in order for that to happen, you got to make sure your stuff is intuitive. Jumping back to this, man, whoops. Color doubled. That's just I can't tell if that's worse or not. That man, I wish I could use the ampersand, but I know I can't because ampersand is already taken for decorators. Hmm. How bad does double dollar feel? Single, strangely enough, double dollar feels better than single dollar. I don't know why. This just feels better. Um, I'm just gonna go with double dollar for now. Um, so what do I want to do double dollar for? So I want to expose a couple of things. I want get color. I want RGBA from here comes the dot dot slashes. Utilities. No. Style? Styles, utilities, color. Great. Um so now I'm going to talk about what I'm thinking. There is a decision I have to make. And that is to, well, several decisions. But all of it is like, how do I add this in here? Because of course I can just do this. And now I can do this. Blue 500. It's mind blowing how slick this is. I gotta tell you, like not having to do this to get the little utils and just having it provided to you when you go to construct this stuff is really cool. But I can't, we need to namespace this. So how do we do it? We could do, I'm gonna hide this. We could do $, like that. What is the Zen mode thing in here? Let me give that a shot. Maybe that'll be fun. Zen mode. Neat. I'm kind of into this. How do I see my other tabs? You can't. That's cool. Not really. Come on, I need my tabs. I'm gonna time box this at 10 seconds. If I can't figure it out, then too bad. I blah blah toggle just tab. Okay, too bad. This is all I get. One file at a time. So I'm gonna get out of Zen mode now. That was fun. Okay. I could do this. $. This feels bad. This is my thinking. What if I did this? $$ utils, and under utils, that's where you get color. That's where you get RGBA. So $, it's if you've used, I think, Firebase, I can be wrong, but I believe Firebase or maybe RxJS or Angular, something uses $$ as their convention to namespace certain things. And it's great. It works well. So we can just try that. Let's see how this feels. $$ utils dot get color, and this should still work. I'm going to change this to green so we can confirm. Yeah, so that still works. Works fine. I'm not mad at it. I feel like it could be better, but I'm not mad at it. Let's go with that for now. So there are some other things that we can do in here. There is base styles. From somewhere, resets, base CSS. Base styles. Yeah, this is the one that we use everywhere. Okay, let me just add this in here. So many dot slashes. Base styles, base resets slash base styles. Great. Cool. So there are some other ones. There are a couple of utilities actually. Shadow. Yeah, that's a new one. We have get shadow now. Sounds so cool. Get shadow from dot slash shadow. This is a thing. Yeah, get shadow. Get shadow. Oh boy, let's just add everything here. Why not? Theme is beacon is HS app. It's a prop provider thing for you to be able to check stuff within the internal system for theming. Theming is another interesting topic. I'll talk about that after I figure this part out. Theme. So I need to pluck that from theme. And this is very, very specific to Help Scout. Utilities, theme. Nope, too many dot slashes. Okay, and I'm just gonna alphabetize this, maybe? No, it feels okay. Yeah, it feels fine. What else? Or each. Oh yeah, I use this a lot. How do I get it? Is it a default? Yeah. All right. for each from dot dot slash for each f. Let's see. I think that's it for now. Oh, no, there's fonts. Set font size, add font smoothing, make font family factory. No, this is what we need. Make font family mono, make font family system. No, these are the two we need. Make font family mono. Okay. I guess I can talk about fonts in another video because that one gets quite complex. TLDR, IE11 support CSS variables. Also, varying font sizes between the embeddable and the application, all being handled by one single thing. That's pretty good TLDR. Great. Cool. From dot slash styles, utilities, font. Yeah. Save. Reorganize this a bit. Yeah. Now add this to the sky. Yeah. So, I mean, this has become more than just a collection of utilities. And I mean, this is all live coding. I didn't pre-plan any of this. That's why you're seeing me struggle as I like try to figure things out. But I think that's part of the fun. I'm gonna close all this stuff to the right. I'm just gonna reopen this again. Styled. So now I'm thinking like, since this is just a mishmash of everything, maybe it starts becoming more like a library kind of feel. Not unlike what you get from jQuery or Lodash or something like that. So, what if I changed this namespace where all of them are under into something that feels generic? Let's say double dollar. So instead of doing double dollar utils, we just do double dollar. It works, but this looks really bad. This has lots of bad feels. So what if it's just underscore? I don't hate this only underscore thing. This is kind of nice. It just it looks like a face. So if I did that would be funny. So yeah, this looks kind of like a face, but at the same time, I'm not mad at it. Here's why. It's a single character, sure, whatever. But it makes this part feel It makes the entire thing easier to read because as you scan down, this is so small and they're basically all symbols that like your eye doesn't like go to it. You're jumping to text, which is good because you kind of want this to kind of be out of the way. And then when you actually go into the string interpolation part, this feels very familiar to like a Lodash and all that stuff. I might go with this. I like this. Yeah, let's go with this. And all the things I just talked about in the last 30 seconds. This goes into the whole developer experience, that kind of thinking. And yeah, that philosophy is basically the driver of why I do everything I do. Looking at variables to make sure they look and feel right. So I like this. So in theory, I could do something like this now. What do I want to do? I want to give it a box shadow. Yeah. Box shadow. Not dollar, so underscore. Get shadow. I forgot the shades. Get shadow. No, from shadow. I coded this not too long ago, but it's never really been used, at least not too much by myself. Now this should have a box. It doesn't. Hang on. Utils get shadow. Oh, that's why, because I need to give it values and stuff. I think. I don't know anymore. So what are you returning, little guy? I think it's just returning the value. Get shadow 100, get shadow values and stuff. So maybe I think I have a blah blah. That number is missing. 3. Yeah, it's missing because it doesn't exist. So now if I did 0, 4, 20, giant shadow. Bam. Nope. Let's see what's going on. Oh, it's there. I don't need to do this. I forgot. It's already there. Yeah. So this works. I wish I knew the values though. Kind of sucks. Wish I was, yeah, like autofilling of this. I don't know how you do it though, because somehow, yeah, somehow. If I wanted in editor support for like IntelliSense and stuff like that, then that means this underscore has to be typed, and it has to be typed somehow from this. When you pass it into here, I can't, like, this is like, if you, of course it's possible, but then this is where things are like TypeScript. It's just like I can't even do this. Yeah, so that's a bummer. I think that's fine. So okay, so now we're at the stage where we basically have access to any of this stuff. And let me just add base as well, because I think base is used in certain scenarios. So in scenarios where you don't want to affect the font, because base styles, which is available through here, like so, base styles, oops, dot base styles, like so. This one adjusts, normalizes, and resets the font and also the box sizing. Base just resets the box sizing. But the names are so similar. Base styles, base. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to, I'm going to get base, like this. But instead of calling it base, I will call it something else. I'm going to call it reset styles from base. Yeah? And now I can get rid of that. Reset styles, do that. So in theory, this is all I really need to do in the beginning of my components now. I don't need this. This does not, this doesn't feel very good, to be honest. Like, this looks weird. It will work though. Yeah. So we'll see that it's there. Yeah, the box sizing is there. It just looks really weird. I wish I didn't have to do that. But yeah. Maybe no, there's yeah. I really wish I can just do this. Wouldn't that, how slick would that be? Just to somehow, for styled components, to just know that underscore comes from the extra arguments and just like do its thing without having to do that kind of dance with the executing of the function. It's fine. So now I don't know which one I like better. I like this because it's kind of self-contained within here, but it looks weird, for me at least. Whereas this one here looks cleaner, but you need to import it from somewhere else. So let's just go with this for now. And the likelihood of you using something like this at the application layer is it almost never happens. So you need to do this at the component layer just to kind of help scaffold things. But in the application, you don't need to do that. In the application, you'll most likely do this. If you want to override anything, you'll do this. And to me, this feels good. This doesn't, but maybe this is something that at the UI component layer, this can hide and it'll be fine. Okay, so one last thing I'm going to try before I go, and that is, how do I declare, for example, configs and have those configs be overridable? So what I mean by that is this is very purposeful, but I've kind of, I guess, planted the seed and now it's finally happening. So in the spirit of CSS variables / Sass variables, a lot of these styled components within HSDS React, they have all of their things that would be Sass variables stored as key value pairs underneath a config object within the css.ts or css.js file. So here we have avatar, and we have all these values stored here as variables. And then when you go to construct the styled component, you would reference that like so. And that's how you get your variables. And this is really great, especially for, being able to change things on the fly, looping through things. So here we have some sizes and we're going to do a loop through it to generate the sizes. That's where this for each thing really comes in handy. And this kind of each based experience generating essentially strings from a config, that philosophy comes from Sass. And it was something that I brought over here. It's been very handy in generating this stuff, especially for buttons. Oh my goodness, you take a look at buttons, there's generators everywhere. So the other really cool thing about this is that in theory, when I built this in mind, I had in mind that in the future, which is now, we should be able to override these values as a consumer of this particular component. I didn't know how to do that then, but with extra arguments, we know how to do it now. So here's what I mean. Let's just do this. So export const config. We'll do background color of red. Okay? So from the block, we'll add config. And I'm trying to think, like, I want to do the thing like how base did it. So here's what I'm going to do. Let's just pretend the default prop of this is config. Let's say any, sure. Static default props config is config. And then I'm going to pass config into my styled component, like so. Config equals config, like that. And inside of here, well, This is kind of weird. So I'm just gonna, okay, all right, let's do this for now. So now we have access to config from this. I'm just gonna do this, $config, whoops. Background color. And now we have that. So in theory, if I wanted to, let's pretend there's many variables inside of this flexi block that with configurations. So if I go to flexi story, and if I were to use a flexi block right here, I'm just going to add another one so we can see. We'll call this vanilla. We'll call this enhanced. We're going to adjust the enhanced one. Yeah. So vanilla is red by default. So what if I did this? Config, background color is yellow. It works. Yeah, so I mean, this doesn't really have anything to do with extra arguments. I kind of want to add it in there somehow. I don't know how, but I think this might be okay for now. And here's a big difference between this and doing something like style and doing that. So I think I can do the same thing if I did this. I can probably achieve the same thing. One moment. Yeah, it's the same thing. Superficially, it's the same thing, what you see in the browser, but underneath the mechanics are very different. So style works. I'm just adding inline styles that gets rendered into this div here. Because we have this get, we're passing all the properties to this styled component, which it then renders into the DOM. Great, sure. But here's the big difference though. When you do this, you have to give CSS, you're writing inline styles. So these have to be valid CSS properties. But when you do this, these particular variables can be anything you want. That's specific to the component. So if you were to go about doing this, this is like advanced mode. If you need finer grained customization details or whatever. And these variable names don't always apply directly to the main component. They can apply to subcomponents for reasons. So if I go to avatar CSS, the sizing, the color, color, but like size XL, that is not a CSS property. You can't use that with inline styles. And size XL is used in various parts of avatar in order for it to work. So having access to this $config thing allows for that kind of thing to happen. But the other tricky part is like, in order to make sure that the CSS doesn't break, I need to merge I need to basically do this. I need to do a deep merge. I guess I can do a shallow merge. I have to do a deep merge of this. Config. Which isn't the worst, but it's also not great. And that's because like there could be many different what do you call it, configurations that may be nested, maybe not, and you don't want something where the user just like, let's pretend I have 10 default configs, and then the user just gives me a brand new object with one key value. Then that means the rest of the 9 are now invalid, and now everything breaks. So we can't have that. They have to merge to kind of consolidate. This is not the worst, but then also feels kind of doesn't feel that great. But anyway, we're just prototyping out this idea. I kind of like this. And last point is, there is a difference between configuration and theming, in my opinion. how styled components and libraries and stuff like that have been approaching themes is, I don't know about now, but for a while, is that they would use themes essentially as variable maps, which isn't correct. A theme shouldn't be nitty-gritty details like border size and things like that. Those are variables. Those are configuration variables. Themes are things like dark, small, big, um, primary, or secondary, mobile, things like that. Those are themes, overarching ideas that apply system-wide, right? Not fine-grained little nitty-gritty details. So that's the big difference, and that's why these aren't as part of themes within the system. These are configs. So in order to kind of get that to map correctly with how this thing should work internally, but then how you should think about things, I think config is the right variable name to use. So what did we learn from all this? Well, this feels great. The ability to do this. Oh man, I'm telling you, the ability to do this part dot get color is just like made my day. It feels so natural to like how you would think about constructing this stuff, and it just harkens back to the patterns of like jQuery and underscore and stuff. It's great. So I really like this. This I'm not a big fan of. I can live with it. This config thing is cool, but I think it's still kind of theory. Like I need to kind of work that out. But at the very least, we have underscore to give you all the variables that you would need to construct. Sorry, not variables, utilities and stuff like that that you would need for constructing components within the HSDS layer, but also to enhance styled components or whatever from your application. If you happen to need color or whatever it is, without having to import something with a bunch of dot slashes or some file deeply nested within the library. This feels very slick. So with that, I'm going to end this screencast. It's been quite a long one. It's been a while since I made a long one. So hopefully you enjoyed my adventures in trying to invent a way for this to happen. And hope you have a great day. Catch you later. Bye.